Hey everyone. Something that I've noticed a lot as I've taught is that the concept of consonants and vowels seem pretty easy to people until they get called out on it. So a lot of times I'll be teaching and I have a student who will raise their hand when I'm like, what's a vowel? And they will immediately give me the examples, A, E, I, O, U, and then someone always includes sometimes Y, and I'm like, yeah, but why is that? And I don't get a whole lot of answers, so I wanted to talk about why are consonants called consonants, why are vowels vowels, and just kind of go from there. So vowels are interesting because there's not a whole lot of them. That's actually where the Latin-based comes from. It sounds a lot like the word vocal, and that's where we get the word vowel. So you'll notice when you make the A, E, I, O, U sound, and sometimes the long E or long I sound that the Y can sometimes provide for us, it's all going to be vocal. So if you make any of those sounds and if you touch your throat, you should be able to feel your vocal cords vibrate, making that vocality of when a vowel is occurring. The main thing that makes a vowel is that when you pronounce the phonetic sound of a vowel, being that A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y, you're going to notice it's pretty simple. It's straightforward when you say it. There's not going to be a blockage or a shift in airflow as you're projecting that sound, and that's what makes vowels unique. As for consonants, they are all the other letters of the alphabet, but I will make another video about that because that has to do with something called phonemes. So please notice that, yeah, there are 26 letters of the alphabet, but that doesn't mean that those are all the sounds that we can make from them, so I'll get into that in another video. The interesting thing about consonants is that they can either be vocal or voiceless. A good example of that would be with the F sound versus the V sound. You say them both the same way, but if you make an F sound, you're going to notice that you're not activating your vocal cords for that. So the F sound is voiceless, even though it's consonant, but the same thing. We still have a V sound, but that's the exact same sound, but you're going to make a vocalized V sound, and that's going to activate your vocal cords. So it's interesting to note that all vowels are vocal, but consonants can be either or. They can be vocal or voiceless. Another interesting thing about consonants is that you have to kind of modify your airflow or shift it to get that sound out. A good example would be B sound. You have to make the B sound, so I have to bring my lips together. When I make a C beginning sound or a hard K sound, I have to start with K, and I have to start with my tongue, the back of my tongue is pressed up against the top of my mouth for just like a brief moment to actually get that sound out. But for vowels, you don't need that. I want to talk briefly about the sometimes Y thing. So when people are talking about vowels, there's like the little jingle A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. That bothers me that they use the word sometimes, because we actually use the Y as a vowel more than it's actually used as a consonant, but I want to talk about that. So when you use Y as a vowel sound, a lot of times it's going to be because you're using it as a long I sound or a long E sound. So for the long I sound, these are words like cry or try, when you could just write it out as, instead of C-R-Y, you could have C-R-I, and it would technically phonetically make sense and we could use it, but that doesn't mean that it always has to work that way. We don't really need the Y there. We just like to put it there to make things shorter. Same thing for the long E sound. Words like baby or city, we like to put the Y at the end, but it's going to make that sound when you could really write it as, instead of B-A-B-Y, you could just say B-A-B-I-E, but we don't do that because we like to shorten things. And so that's a big reason why we have Y. It's so popular as that vowel. However, Y is more recognized as that consonant. Like, people think it's used as a consonant more because it's more recognizable. Instead of the other sounds like the long I or the long E sound, having just the consonant Y, y, like Y-U-H phonetic, that's so much more recognizable in words like yellow or yard or yell. Like, you're starting with that Y consonant sound instead of putting it in between words or syllables where it's going to function more as that vowel sound. Instead, if it is more at the beginning of a word or the beginning of a syllable, more likely it's going to sound like a consonant, and therefore it would be that. Overall, Y is really used only whenever there are no other vowels present in a word, like gym, G-Y-M. There are no other vowels in there, so Y would automatically take the role of the vowel. I know people don't really think of vowels and consonant as that complicated, but it does go a little bit deeper than what most people are familiar with, and I kind of like talking a little bit more about it. I hope you guys learned something. Don't be afraid to learn. Bye, guys.